Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. It's a road show Friday here at the Single Barrel with Hail Varsity Radio. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, and we invite you down. It is the clash of the two big reds, Nebraska-Oklahoma, 11 tomorrow. Big noon kickoff. Get your tummy full down here at the Single Barrel ahead of time. Wow. A lot of Boomer Sooner fans here. The bar is surrounded behind me with some Sooners and some Huskers. Making nice right now. That's how you do it. Hail Varsity Radio is presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. We'll have the Pride of Fairbury. Bill Doleman will be on site with us. So Elijah Herbel is back at our ESPN studios. Stream us, watch us, listen to us. And you can watch what is happening on ESPN Lincoln's Facebook, on ESPN Lincoln's Twitter, and, of course, the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter feed at HVarsity Radio is where you follow that, at Schmidt_radio. You want to find me on Twitter at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbel. But Connor Clark, most of the time, is running back at the studio. Elijah gets out on Fridays. Connor ditched both of us to go hang out with Urban Meyer. Now, that may be good. That may deserve a code red. I haven't quite decided yet what to make of it, other than he's sending a tweet picture. Well, gee, guys, look what I'm doing. You know, I mean, good for Connor.
It becomes code red if there's any pictures of Urban and Connor released in the bar from later tonight. That's when it becomes big-time code red for us.
I think so. I absolutely think so. But we invite you down here to the Single Barrel. Incredible food. You and I took down their steak board. 2 different steaks, a burger, sausage, and enough sauce to make us happy. I had soup. You had fries. It was wonderful. Going to tweet out some pictures of last Friday's adventure. But we invite you down. Single Barrel also has incredible breakfast every morning. And they've got a great deal for you if you need some eggs in your belly before kickoff tomorrow at 11. So we can dive in. And, you know, I was thinking about tomorrow. We got plenty of emails to get into as well. Folks hoping and wishing for the upset. Hoping and wishing for a good performance. It's been a week. It's been quite a week for Nebraska football, starting with Sunday and moving and fast-forwarding all the way to tonight. Back in the day, Nebraska's routine would always be to go rent out a movie and go to a theater, and that's what the team did before they went to the hotel room, and then they got ready the next morning for the ball game. Mickey is invoking some more old school tactics, ways with this week when it comes to media. Limiting media, which is all good. It's drilling down, just focusing. It's tackling, it's hitting, it's being physical in practice. All those things are good. And, you know, Brandon Vogel had a great cover and feature in one of the Hail Varsity yearbooks a few years back, The Anatomy of an Upset, right? Think about some of the bigger upsets in college football. And this isn't Northwestern Colorado circa 95, where Barnett's got a team that's 2-10 a year ago coming in to take on the mighty Lou Holtz, who's number 2 in the country. Not one of those what just happened. This isn't Harbaugh and Stanford against USC and Pete Carroll, if you remember that. But what this is rivalry for the fans. And what this is an opportunity for a lot of the kids on the Nebraska football team, Elijah, that played well enough to win last year. Different quarterback, totally get it, but and different front seven. In some instances, for sure, a different back end where Newsom's really your only guy that saw much action last year in Norman. It's the infamous year anniversary to the great Scooter road trip you and I took all the way through the streets in Norman to get back to Uncle Andy's RV, where it's a true Dumb and Dumber moment where 6'5" Elijah's driving this electronic scooter. I've got a backpack and an earbud, and I'm hanging on for dear life. It's like Luke Skywalker hauling Yoda around is what it looked like. And I smile with Oklahoma, Nebraska. Numbers to get in, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Can also email chris@hailvarsity.com. But when I talk about the anatomy of an upset, Elijah, there's a lot of things that got to break right, and a lot of atmospheres are much more enhanced when you look at the night game aspect. A lot of upsets, a lot of snake pits happen at night. Well, it's an 11 o'clock kick, but it's a showcase for Nebraska. To me, it comes down to you're overlooking an opponent, right? You're not respecting the game, and it's also a matter of turnovers, right? I mean, that is going to be the door that keeps being crept open. If someone's not as talented or not as good or not as explosive as another team, well, listen, Nebraska will for sure have the home field advantage, although Sooner fans are going to do their best. You got a country show down at the PBA tonight, so why not come in for a country show, have a steak at the Single Barrel, and then go watch football, because it's not like Nebraska gets to play every day. But the upset part of this thing is it's as simple as Ted Lasso for me, man. And I think Mickey's going to bring that, has done that this week, where you make the sign that says believe and you go slap it. I think that's part one when we talk about anatomy of an upset. What can happen tomorrow for Nebraska? 10.5-point dogs against Oklahoma. You've got guys on this team that are going to get a look. You've got guys on this team that are hurting, but you also have guys on this team that are excited, not at the expense of someone's job or career, but they're excited for a new voice, okay? And the guys that have really contributed to this team on the offensive side quite a bit, they've been a lot of Mickey's guys, okay? They've been guys that Mickey's had contact with. They've been guys that Mickey has helped bring in here through the portal or in normal recruitment. So there's going to be a little extra umph, not only from the crowd from the fan base, but there's going to be a little extra umph because of who Nebraska has, the stage they're on, and the opportunity at hand.
Well, Schmidty, this kind of brings me back to our conversation from yesterday where heart or the head, which one are you listening to? Because my heart tells me, well, this could be the perfect anatomy of an upset. When you look at the fact that Nebraska, they had a disappointing performance last week. They're going to be motivated. They just lost their head coach. They got a new guy coming in, bringing a new energy. And you got a bye week next week, so you know you can leave it all on the line this weekend and then enjoy your week off where Mickey gets to impart a little bit more. But then on the other hand, my head's telling me this could be the perfect anatomy of a blowout win for Oklahoma, where the team is down after a disappointing loss to Georgia Southern, and Mickey spent all week trying to get the juice back up, but they're still going to end up a little bit juiceless. The changes that Mickey's trying to make, he's not going to be able to get installed in just 1 week of practices, and the end product on Saturday ends up looking sloppy, and you have a bye week to go fix those things after Oklahoma comes to town and beats you pretty good. And that's where I'm at, where I can't decide if this is closer to being great, like perfect chance for an upset, or if this is a great chance for Nebraska to go lay an egg and get blown out. And something tells me that the fans are going to have something to say here. Or if Nebraska can keep this game close through the first quarter up until maybe halftime, that Nebraska is going to be in this game and in this game until the end. But I also look at it and I go, well, if this team comes out a little bit hungover, an 11 a.m. kick after a whirlwind week, it could get ugly, and it could get ugly fast.
Is it a buzzsaw that's coming to town? Mm-hmm. That's a very fair question. And when we talk about Mickey versus the field, right, that's the conversation. Do you have your next head coach here with an audition? And what a statement game one, week one in the Mickey era it would make. Or do you truly do a national search, which is what Trev's going to do, not to go back to that. But listen, you know how impressive it would be to pull this off if you're Mickey Joseph in Nebraska? Everything's been stacked against you. Think about it. You're in transition. You blow out a native son. You got to pick up the pieces. Your point about the getting drilled at home by Georgia Southern is very well warranted. And then you've got to kind of figure out everything. You transition from wide receivers coach and calling recruits to still calling recruits, but now you're in charge of the whole ball of wax. And that's quite a jump, quite a step. And all of it is under you. And you've made some tweaks, you've made some changes, which are big. Dan tweets in at Schmidt_radio, you didn't relive the whole scene, did you? No, there was no wet legs, Elijah, with the scooter scene last year. Numbers to get in, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. And Nebraska-Oklahoma is here, and a lot of red downtown in the capital city. We're here at the Single Barrel, and excited to be here. Home football Fridays 4 to 6. So some emails to get into when it comes to Nebraska. Todd emails in. He says, hey, dude, my take this weekend, we have a shot if the D-line gets amped up and can get home. Bump and run, fellas. Tackle, fellas. Navy Todd sending in his thoughts on things. Zachary emails in. Chris, love the show. Unfortunate that it didn't work for Frost. I think it's fascinating to even have Urban's name mentioned with the job. And he's in town this weekend. I don't want to take anything away from Mickey, but maybe we can get Mickey to stay and get Urban to come over. We all know Urban's history, but he gives the program an instant leg up and have a succession plan in place with Mickey. That Zach, his email in with Hail Varsity. So listen, the here and now is Mickey. There's been a little bit less movement from the masses. I think if you bump into folks, I think maybe 3 out of 10 are intrigued by the Urban option. Again, we sent Connor Clark into the Lions' den. We will get an answer shortly, I'm sure, on tape about Urban with the Nebraska job from one Connor Clark, since they were both hanging out today together, right? Why'd you come to Lincoln, Urban? Well, to see Connor Clark. That's surely it, aside from Big Noon Kickoff. But Todd emails in, Chris, if Nebraska wins Saturday, shut it down. Shut Lincoln down. It'll be like nothing else we'll ever see. And we'll see Mickey and the boys if they can do it. Hope it happens. Go Big Red. So there's that excitement level to it. Bump tomorrow, right? We're talking the Mickey bump this week. Also, it sounds like you're going to have Henrich give it a go. Also sounds like Vokalek is going to give it a go. How effective will they be is the question. How much can they give? The other news that we were able to gather, Elijah, is Teddy Prohaska. Big Teddy at left tackle got dinged last week. I don't know what his outlook is for tomorrow, and I don't know what his outlook is for the rest of the season. You have other options at left tackle as Teddy was trying to make his way back. If he can't go, and I don't think he will, you're gonna ask some guys to step up. Kevin Williams, a guy we've really enjoyed talking to, the transfer in from Northern Colorado, the Omaha North product. Could be a big day for Kevin Williams at left tackle if that's the direction Nebraska wants to go. Kevin was there a little bit towards the end of last week's ball game. So on the good side, Vokalek, Henrich probably back. The downside is you don't have Teddy Prohaska. That's pretty big because that's the blind side of Casey Thompson. But
I think the addition, or I guess the return of Henrich and Vokalek could be bigger than that loss of Prohaska, simply for the fact that Teddy Prohaska still has had some freshman moments this season. I don't think there's as big as a gap behind Teddy as there is behind a guy like Henrich or a guy behind a guy like Vokalek. Those guys coming back is huge. We saw what Vokalek looked like in that Northwestern game, just being a safety valve for Casey Thompson. When the pressure started getting a little bit tight around Casey, he was able to find Vokalek with consistency until the injury. And then also we've been talking about filling your gaps, your run gaps, your run integrity. Nick Henrich was big for that against Northwestern. He didn't always make all of his tackles in that game, and I think some people were a little disappointed in his performance. But upon watching Ernest Hausman the past couple weeks, who I think's got a big future with this Husker football team, he just mentally, I'm not sure, is ready for the step up to a team like Oklahoma. I think that could be the biggest return of anything tomorrow. Like just the biggest storyline, the return of Nick Henrich and how it could help Nebraska keep this Oklahoma offense out of rhythm just a little bit in terms of they're not going to be getting 3 to 4 yards a carry if that defense can step up, and if a guy like Henrich, a leader of that defense, can step up and keep that defense in rhythm is not the right word for defense, but keep them in a place where they're keeping this Oklahoma offense out of their rhythm a little bit more. I think Henrich could be big in that.
Elijah Herbel back at our studios. Chris Schmidt, we are on the road. A road show Friday here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate. Bill Doleman going to be with us. Maybe a sighting with Brett Sianka from Pick 6 Previews. And we will spend time with former Sooner great and a proud daddy of Casey Thompson. Charles Thompson will join us. Our conversation, his outlook, and what's he think, the former Sooner, on Nebraska. And that is next. Hail Varsity continues. We're presented by Currency.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it at Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Currency, as we're on the road at the Single Barrel. Welcome in Sooner great and proud Papa Charles Thompson with us. Charles, it's good to spend some time with you. Thanks. How's your experience been here back in Lincoln? Big ball game tomorrow.
I got a very big ball game. Listen, I've been here. I came in this week. Certainly been back to the first 2 games, home games as well here. So I got a chance to take in my first actual game since 1987, earlier this season. But been here this week, had a opportunity to do a breakfast. I think it was a Big Red Breakfast Club yesterday morning with my fellow foe and now friend, Steve Taylor. We both were the speakers there. It's kind of ironic, 35 years ago we were battling. And I'll tell you the unique thing about that is, Chris, I got a chance. Listen, the game itself, for me, was one of the most memorable games that I played in my entire college career, other than winning the NEI National Championship, which I later went on to do. That was probably perhaps the biggest game. And it was interesting to visiting and hearing and listen to Steve talk about it, the other side of it, and to hear the disappointment and the hurt and how it has affected him as a person, changed him, he said. So I thought it was kind of neat, but it's great being back here. Had an opportunity, like I said, play some golf with some fellow Nebraskans yesterday, and they're going out to do the same today. But it's been certainly a build-up. It's good, at least for this week and leading up to pregame, everyone around the country will get a revisit of the great OU Nebraska rivalry, which is something that I grew up on.
Charles Thompson's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. It means so much to so many in both states because it was for the Big 8. It was for the Orange Bowl. It was for a crack at a national championship, Charles. So I got to ask you about the rubber match. How's that gone? You got Steve got you, and now you're settling it on the golf course. How did yesterday go?
Well, it's 2-1 Nebraska then, if that be the case. Steve certainly got the best of me yesterday. Certainly why I'm going back today to try to even the score up. But no, it's just been great fun and playing at a new golf course. It's always tough to go to a new golf course. I'm borrowing some of Steve's clubs. I didn't bring my own clubs. So yesterday I kind of used it as a let me feel this kind of deal out. But we'll see what happens. They know Steve's a good player. I had fun with the guys we played with. But more than anything, it was just about going out and having fun and relaxing and just getting ready for what I think will be an exciting Saturday.
Charles Thompson, a few minutes with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Charles, I want to go back to 87, and Jamel had won a title. You came in. Talk to me about Coach Switzer, how he motivated, but also how he got you ready. You're a tremendous quarterback. You were a sought-after quarterback. So, but it's one thing to be able to do it in high school, and then now you're thrust forward, number 1 versus number 2, game of the century, part 2, right? How did you get prepped for that moment?
Chris, listen, I was a very confident player, probably overly confident, but that's part of what it takes. Mm-hmm. I remember as a true freshman, I walked in there and we were spinning about, and they used to have the young guys come in a couple weeks before the veterans, And then Jamel Holloway comes in, and I'm around the quarterbacks. And after about 2 weeks of practicing right next to Jamel Holloway, I walked into Coach Don and my quarterback coach and the OC at the time's office, and I said, I think I'm better than Jamel right now. I want a chance to beat him out starting quarterback. As a true freshman coming out, remember him telling me, hey, hold your horses. There'll be your time. But you got to have a tremendous amount of confidence. Listen, when we went into that week, if you remember, Chris, all year Oklahoma had been rated number 1, even preseason. Nebraska number 2. My first start happened the week before against Missouri at home, and we were expected to blow them out, and I struggled, and the team struggled. We barely won 17-14. So the entire country had Nebraska tabbed to win the game, and even switched us from number 1 to number 2 and moved Nebraska to number 1. That was all the motivation I know I needed, our team needed, and Coach Switzer needed to use to fuel that. He told me all week long, people think you're not as good as Steve Taylor. They don't think you can go in there and lead this team to victory, show everyone why we got you out of Lawton, Oklahoma, and why you're the talented quarterback that you think you are. Go in there and shock the nation. I'll never forget on Thursday evening, we got done at our practice. And towards the end of practice, Switzer came into the huddle, and he looked me right now, and he said right there on that field, Charles Thompson, if you play like you practice all week, you're going to shock the nation on Saturday. And that's really what I was focused on doing. I'd grown up watching this rivalry since the age of 6. It had personal value to me, and it was personal because I knew that everyone around the country was doubting that I, as a 19-year-old kid, a redshirt freshman, could lead the Sooners in that awesome environment to victory. So it was certainly a personal a weekend for me in a personal game, and I would just focus on doing what I needed to do to help the team win.
Charles Thompson's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Charles, let's talk about Mickey, his opportunity right now, and how his voice can help tomorrow with Nebraska. And spend a second, too, if you don't mind, about your relationship, because you hosted Mickey, didn't you, on his recruiting trip to Oklahoma?
Yeah, I met Mickey back, I don't think it was 88 or 89 when he was coming out. And I will never forget when Coach Don and Switzer brought me in and said, we're looking at this kid out of Louisiana and we want to post him in this weekend. Will you help show him around? And I thought, sure. And I'm very confident, and I'm looking, and as I'm looking at Mickey's film, I'm becoming overly impressed with him. And I looked at Coach, I said, so you guys want to bring this guy in? Like, I was that impressed with his talents and what he was able to do out of Louisiana. And we met then on that visit. And listen, Mickey obviously went on to play at Nebraska. He coached in Oklahoma at Langston University and UCO, so I've had a chance to communicate with him. He was at Langston when my oldest son was coming out, and believe it or not, Mickey, remember my oldest son Kendall laughed about it because Mickey almost had him considered in Langston University when he had about 24 of D1 offers there. But that's just what Mickey is. He's very personable. He played a big role in Casey being here at Nebraska now. He's a guy that I really, really trust. I think he's a trustworthy guy. If you look around and people who you ask about Mickey Joseph, they'll tell you, guy is as solid and as honest as can be. He tells it like it is. He doesn't pull any punches. And I'll tell you this, Chris. I often have thought about this. I know, and I look around, and I know there will be a lot of people that will say, let's go out to some big name. It's not about big names. It's about being able to recruit the top level type of talent. And how you do that is people have to feel comfortable and believe in the head coach. I would say Nebraska, don't know how the rest of the year would go, but I would say they would be crazy not to consider Mickey as a potential full-time guy. I think very highly. I think, and here's why, mostly, I think he'll be able to go out and recruit the Jimmies and Joes that's needed to win, to execute the X's and O's. I think that's one thing that I know Mickey's strength is. You look at every individual pretty much on the offensive side of the ball that is sort of attributing to some degree to this current Nebraska squad, they have some sort of connection to Mickey Joseph. And so I think that says a lot about what I think it's needed to be here at this new Nebraska. Everybody wants to see them be successful. You got to have the talent. And so I think I think very highly of Mickey Joseph, and I think that he has the ability. Like I said, he's just a solid guy. Big reason why we're here.
Charles Thompson's with us. Charles, let's talk about Casey, and he's not a stranger to play in Oklahoma. Lit him up last year. How much conversation do you and your son have, or do you just kind of let him be game week? I know you'll be rooting for him in the stands tomorrow.
Well, I mean, Casey and I are constantly talking football all the time. I mean, we actually had a chance being here in town. I had a chance to watch film with him as well. And, I mean, we're just football junkies. One thing I know about him, he's going to certainly be prepared for the moment. The moment isn't going to be too big for him. He demonstrated that certainly last year, and that atmosphere was certainly wild. But listen, I mean, it comes down to, it doesn't matter what all the outside noise is, Chris. It's about getting it done in between the stripes. We can talk about it till we're blue in the face, building it up, leading up to the game. We can write about it and say all we want to say. You can have experts that can predict this or that. At the end of the day, the 11 guys on offense and defense will have the direct impact on how this game will end up on both sides of the ball and on both sidelines. So at the end of the day, it comes down to that. And I think when you get inside that element, it doesn't matter. Everybody puts their pads on the same way, and anything can happen. And that's what I think Casey is focused on, controlling what he can control and trying to go out there and make every play that he can make to help lead this team to victory.
Charles Thompson with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Of course, Nebraska OU revisited tomorrow. Charles, I'll let you get out on this, and it's awesome to spend a few minutes with you. Thanks for your time. How do you think Mickey and the team has handled the noise this week as tomorrow looms?
Well, listen, I think one of the key things that I think Mickey did, which was very smart, he limited media access to the players. Obviously, there could have been a lot of distraction in terms of, not only the firing, but certainly building up to this game. And I thought it was very smart on his part to say, no, I'm going to be the only one to talk to the media. And I think that's very good. Listen, I know that we all know that Casey would have got 1,000 questions in regards to the Oklahoma OU, the Tech, all that sort of deal. So I thought it was very smart. I think he's handled it extremely well. Listen, at the end of the day, they just got to go out there, Chris, and just believe in each other. It doesn't matter what everyone in the stands are going to think or say or feel. Just because something doesn't go right, you don't get down. It's one thing that as a former player, I really get frustrated with fans that just are fair weather fans. When the minutes one thing goes wrong, it's complete doom and gloom. And I realize, listen, no one likes losing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Everyone likes winning. We want to be a part of winning programs, want to be a part of winning everything. But at the end of the day, it's about to support. Listen, these kids are out there doing the very best they can. I think it's key to me that as Nebraska, what I like most about Nebraska that got us here. When I looked last year at a 3-8 team, the last game of the year, I think they were playing Iowa. It's a night game. Casey and I looked at the stands. We saw a packed house, and they were rocking the house and having fun. And that's what it's going to take. Do your part. And part of that as fans is to be as loud as they can be and help cheer this team from an emotional standpoint to victory. And that's all we can ask them to do. And that's what I expect. So tomorrow, instead of being doom and gloom, let's be fired up and excited and try to will this team to do something a lot of people don't think they can do, beat the Oklahoma Sooners. And for me, Chris, that's even tough to say. So I'll be cheering for the Cornhuskers and number 11 100%.
Charles Thompson. Charles, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for a few minutes today.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Gotta love it. Charles Thompson with us here, Hail Varsity Radio, live at the Single Barrel as Bill Doleman en route. A rewind with Brian Bosworth, the Boz. Going to be an incredible weekend. We continue moving forward here. Hail Varsity presented by Currency.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for spending time. Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow Friday here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate Nebraska-Oklahoma weekend. Hope you're well. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel were presented by Currency. Now, tomorrow morning, we are excited to be with Seth and Greg down at the bar, 16th and P. Your one-stop place for fun, man. It's going to be incredible. They open at 8. We'll be setting up shop for the weekend edition, 7:30 to 9:30. tomorrow morning. Elijah, you're going to be out of the studio for that. You'll accompany me down there, or you may just fall asleep there tonight and just see you in the morning.
I'm not sure that the 7:30 a.m. Slinky is going to be sitting right with me in the morning, but we'll see.
So come see us tomorrow morning, and for post-game Real Red Reaction also follows Nebraska's upset of Oklahoma. Dare we say that? I think we can. David Sizes is here, does a great job teaching in the capital city, also with the East football and former Husker. So he is on site here to have a good time. And, people love listening to the show, and that makes me smile. I mean, I'm so proud of what we get to do every day, 4 to 6. But quite frankly, we are Doleman's PR agent. Because there's a line out the door of where's the Pride of Fairbury? Where's the Pride of Fairbury? Pride of Fairbury is getting a police escort in, as I'm sure he took some money on the golf course. When it comes to money and buying and selling tickets, it can be an adventure. Cut out the headache and do so with Red Zone Tickets. They've been selling fun since 2001. Can't go or want to go to Oklahoma, Nebraska? Dave Matthews is going to be in Omaha. The best seats, the best games with your friends at Red Zone Tickets. Husker football, Husker volleyball, NFL action. Of course, Kansas City last night, a thriller against the Chargers. Creighton basketball, concerts, theater. Of course, College World Series. RedZoneTickets.com. Based out of Omaha. They are local. They are wonderful people. And they are reliable. A local source for you to get tickets to the events you want to go to. A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a 100% guarantee when it comes to your orders. You'll receive authentic tickets and experiences you'll never forget. And it's time to check that bucket list item off the bucket list. Create memories that last a lifetime. Do so with your friends at RedZoneTickets.com. RedZoneTickets.com. Log on today. Get that event handled and enjoy the time with family, friends that you'll talk about for years to come.
Schmidty, we just had one Connor Clark open up the door to the studio here, look me in the eyes and say with a smile, Urban's taking the job. You heard it here first.
What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I think he was kidding, but you heard it here first. If that doesn't indeed end up being true, is Connor Clark on the news?
Don't do that.
Hey, if he ends up being wrong, it was just a joke. If he ends up being right, he was first.
Here's the thing. And listen, folks, it's fun to speculate a little bit with the opening. I mean, there's also emails coming in. Our Earl boy Greg's like, look, dude, I'm sick of I'm absolutely sick of the coaching speculation, the coaching talk. I'm behind Mickey. I'm hoping he does well. I think everybody's behind Mickey. I think everybody hopes Mickey does well. It's just a tall task if you're gonna. I mean, it's laid out on the table, right? That it is going to be a nationwide search, and this week of fire, interim. Thank God they're tackling. Okay. And here comes number 6 with the way the defense is so leaky right now. To go get this done tomorrow, if he does it, build a statue. I'm kind of kidding, but not really. I mean, it's a monster task. It's a monster task. But, we've talked to enough Oklahoma people this week. Dean Blevins, we just talked to Charles Thompson, and he's not an Oklahoma guy anymore because his kid's going to light up OU's defense. Listen, it's not like Oklahoma's Goliath. They are beatable. Mickey Joseph was with BTN with Dave Rebson just a little bit ago. Here's part of that conversation.
I think they're in a good state of mind right now. It's been a tough week for those kids. But I expressed to him this morning that, tough times don't last. Tough people do. But the ball's going to kick off Saturday, and we need to be prepared. But it's been a tough week for the boys.
And it's not.
Did Dave get cut off? I mean, what's the deal? He had a lot of exposition here, and I'm making sure we can cut through some of that exposition.
To this program.
We really hadn't spoke about the rivalry. We spoke about that we have 9 games left, 9 stop signs, as we would say, and the stop sign that we at right now is OU. So we really hadn't spoke about the rivalry because these kids are right. They're not old enough to understand what the rivalry means. But we got to understand there's no names, no faces. We got to get out and do our job. So really, I don't want them focusing on, it's a rival game. They are rival games to us. They all are. Whoever's on the schedule is a rival game.
The nameless, faceless opponent, which is really, quite honestly, it. Our old boy Ryan John is here with a crew of people. Good to see him. Single Barrel is where we're at. Another listener tweets in, Hodag Proud, Chad, we'll call him Chad, tweets in, it's about time for a big special teams play. Palmer's going to take a punt back. It will be huge. I love the prediction. Let's talk about defense, though, because that's going to be a key element, Elijah. Mickey spoke a little bit about the defense last night on his coach's show on the network.
We talked about doing some different things, on defense. It comes down to gap integrity, and we did a really good job this week of being in our gaps. I don't want to get into too much about what we changed schematic-wise. That wouldn't be smart right now.
Yeah.
But you'll see some changes. But what you're going to see the boys play hard. They're going to play really hard.
I think that is the expectation for tomorrow, isn't it, Elijah? To see Nebraska go play smart, go play hard, let it all hang out. Mm-hmm. And if you get a victory, letting it all hang out, awesome. But if you fall short, letting it all hang out, playing great football, and they're just better, Nebraska fans are going to get on their feet and give you a round of applause. That is what's so incredible about this fan base, is that they get it. They know it. They love it. They breathe it. They absolutely champion it. And you're going to get them playing good football, tough football, fast football, smart football. That's your key tomorrow, right? I mean, and defensively, what can you get out of the black shirts?
Well, you don't have to be the 09 black shirts. You can give up 35 points tomorrow and still go win the football game. It comes down to making key plays in the backfield. We had a caller, Pete, call and say he wants to see this defense blitzing, being more aggressive, making some plays in the backfield. It's going to come down to situationally. Can they be aggressive and can they make plays in the backfield at a big moment in the game to give their offense a chance? That's what it comes down to for the black shirts tomorrow.
Absolutely. Coming up, Bill Doleman on site, Clausebrone with his time permitting, our conversation with the Boz, Brian Bosworth. We're here at the Single Barrel. It's Hail Varsity Roadshow Friday. We are presented by Currency.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, it's Hail Varsity. We're presented by Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, as we're at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate. You are invited out. Get a big old steak. See if you can do better than me and Elijah last Friday, where we took down, 3 steaks, a burger, sausage, and Scott, loyal listener. Apparently, we kept Scott out. Kept Scotty out too late. He's not allowed to hang out with us anymore. Do you have that friend? Maybe I'm that guy. Listen, Scott can't hang out with me anymore. I've got to really bribe Aunt Ashley to let Uncle Andy hang out with me. My brother-in-law. I mean, I might be that friend that keeps other husbands or boyfriends out too late. Because, hey, how you been? Like the guy that's bulletproof, he's been awesome's Iowa Russ. Everyone else, I got to check with my wife. It's a me thing, I think, Elijah. Are you? You haven't run into that yet, have you? That you're the bad influence.
I'm not the bad influence, but I am very easy like that. Oh yeah, I'm going to bed early. Whoa, we're doing this. Well, count me in. Looks like I'm not going to bed early. And then I'm also the guy that says like, hey guys, I got to get out of here at 10:30, and then 11:45 rolls around, and I go, yeah, I can make another half hour, 45 minutes. That's my big problem. Is I'm the type of guy that says I'm going to be going home early, and then people agree with me, and then I go, well, that was a stupid idea from an hour ago.
Yeah, brother just let me know that, yeah, if you have to ask, you are that guy. Here's a problem. I'll have every intention of getting home early. And tonight I'm not going out because we got a 7:30 a.m. wake-up call at the bar tomorrow morning. You can come see us there as well. But I'll tell her, yeah, I'll be home by 9:30. And she'll say a.m. She'll call and check in and make sure I'm all right. But Vic chimes in. This is why we got along so well in Dublin. We're both bad influences. Vic got it going in Dublin. Vic and Cranack got it going in Dublin. We had a hell of a good time except for the football game and the onside. Numbers to get in, 466-3776. The Pride of Fairbury is on site. His backpack's even bigger than mine. I don't want to ask. It says Beijing on it. We'll just leave him be there. But we'll get into the predictions. We'll have some thoughts from the Boz next hour. And can keep your tweets coming. Get your emails in as well, chris@hailvarsity.com. But what's a good performance from the defense tomorrow? And I think, listen, I think OU is going to do what OU does. That means 400-plus yards. I mean, they're averaging 500. But I think if you can hold them at or below their average, that's okay. Are you going to be able to get more pressure, Elijah? Are you going to be able to get more disruptions and keep Gabriel from getting comfortable? Is Mims going to light you up, or can you stop Gray in the run game? Right? I mean, OU's been instant offense. They've not slogged long time killing drives. They've struck like lightning. And can you prevent the big play and hold them to 3? I mean, all some cliches, but that'll be some wins for Nebraska. Can they get after the quarterback? I think that's
hold
big.
them to 3 is the big one for me. That's why I said making big plays in the big moments. That's holding them to 3, giving your offense a chance to go out and match. That's what this defense needs to do tomorrow. They can give up 38 points, but they can't give up 56.
All right, hour 2 from the Single Barrel. We're presented by Currency. Hail Varsity continues.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Thanks for hanging out back here at the Single Barrel. It's Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow Friday. We're presented by Currency for all your equipment financing needs. Go Currency. Police escort has subsided. He is here. Flown in like Jefferson. Ridgemont, Fast Times at Ridgemont High for the big ones.
Police escort was more going downtown for booking, and I posted bail to get here. So, yeah, that's what that was all about.
He's an outlaw. He's the pride of Fairbury. Bill Doleman with us. Elijah Herbel back at our studios. And we are geared up. Nebraska-Oklahoma. Folks are getting geared up for a giant steak here at the Single Barrel. One of 200 choices of whiskey. Country show at PBA tonight, and we get it rocking tomorrow morning with Seth and Gregors at the bar, 7:30 tomorrow for a red beer. Bill Doleman, how are you? How's the week?
You know, there's a country show going on outside right now.
That's what I meant,
If you walk around the Haymarket, everybody has a southern accent, because I think all of the state of Oklahoma is outside trying to they've taken up all the parking spots down here, and God loves Sooner fans, but when you walk around and you hear them outside on the patios, you can tell that a lot of them aren't from this neighborhood. So it's all country downtown right now, and it's great to see OU shirts and hear the fans, and just to get a little bit of a sense of what it was for so long, a long time ago.
I know. I mean, it's been 2009 since they've visited.
Yeah.
Really big ball game that night with Prince Amukamara and O'Hanlon, and what a party that was.
Yeah.
Nebraska forced 5 interceptions that night. Can Nebraska replicate that? Will they need to replicate that tomorrow?
Well, they got 2 people coaching the secondary now, so why not?
No, exactly. Let's get into that. Some reactions and observations.
No. I just heard Urban Meyer is going to be the new head coach of Nebraska. I heard that on the radio.
Well, that
coming
was
around. Yeah,
that was Connor Clark.
Yeah. That's what I heard. Some Connor Clark broke the news.
Connor was spending. Urban was spending time with Connor today. Actually, Urban and Reggie were having steak right where we're sitting last night.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah,
and then I heard that Charles Thompson interview. It was so good and so informative and so engaging. You almost like him now.
I like Chuck.
No, but back in the day, no, we didn't. We loved to hate and hated to love Oklahoma people, right? The Sooners. And so Charles Thompson, because he was there and he did what Jamel Holloway and Thomas Lott and who else was in that?
J.C. Watts.
J.C. Watts. Yeah, I mean
Elvis has a middle name that starts with F. Peacock.
But it was such a great rivalry, and I've said it so many times over the years. Hated to love, loved to hate those guys. But Charles Thompson's interview with you, I thought was just terrific. He was engaging, and you got the sense of what the rivalry was.
Me a compliment. Thank you.
Well, yeah. I guess both sides of it were good.
Bill, I want to get Bill, I want to get your take on something that's been almost a national media narrative this week, that Oklahoma-Nebraska, this game, it represents the respectful rivalry that there was 30 years ago. And you have a lot of Husker fans coming back and saying, well, I'm not sure it was all that respectful 30 years ago. It's just kind of looking back with a little hindsight bias. Well, what's your take? Is this, in your mind, a respectful rivalry, or is this just a rivalry?
It was a rivalry. Yeah, people... I think like we have in so many other aspects of life, you had extremes on both sides that hated each other, but you loved thinking about the game as soon as fall camp opened up. You just knew that game was at the end of the year, Thanksgiving weekend, and everybody looked forward to it. And Husker fans, as much as they followed the Huskers throughout the course of the season, you also followed Oklahoma to see how they were doing and hoping that the matchup was going to be as meaningful as it was every single year. And when that week rolled around, it was just intensity from the end of the game, the Saturday before, all the way through to kickoff. It was electric. But looking back, yes, there is a romance to it that has probably evolved over time. But even at the time, it was a healthy, hateful. It was a healthy, hateful, respectful rivalry. People just loved it. People loved the Nebraska-Oklahoma game. There was so much angst when we lost 17-14 every year. But no, it represented the best of college football. Ohio State, Michigan, that probably borders too much toward the negative.
Notre Dame, Miami.
Yeah, but that really is not an every year type, because there are religious undertones to that game. So that's different. But Nebraska and Oklahoma for decades represented the best of college football rivalry games and respect before and after. And then you had the unique relationship between Barry Switzer and Bob Devaney, Barry Switzer and Tom Osborne, that continues on to this day. So, I saw so many of those games from afar, from up close, from afar again, that you just have to go back and think, if there's one game, one rivalry that Army-Navy aside, that defines college football rivalries, it was Nebraska-Oklahoma for 40 years.
Tell me a little bit, because you were in the middle of it, that relationship with Bob and Barry, and then also Tom and Barry. I mean, they still. I mean, Barry's going to be 85 here in 2 weeks.
Wow!
And he's making the trip up here to see Tom, and Tom and Barry are still really, really close, despite the hell that Oklahoma put the guy through. There's so much care for one another between the two guys. And you got to see Nebraska-Oklahoma. You got to see Devaney and Barry. And I'm just curious to get, not behind the curtain, but more so just a thought from you, Bill, on just those 180 personalities, but also the way they could get along.
I think, it's so far back in time. But the night that Barry Switzer went on the Bob Devaney prediction show with Dick Janda on
1980 tacos.
Yeah, and brought the tacos on the set on the show that was being done live. I think Nebraska, because that show was watched. I mean, everybody watched for Bob's predictions, and I think the high school highlights or whatever were on those nights. But I think that probably 75% of the state of Nebraska was watching that night, and when they saw Barry come on and give the tacos, and Bob was, oh, there's Barry, there's Barry.
Oh, there's Barry.
I think that moment may have personalized Barry.
It was hilarious.
To Nebraska fans, and seeing, how Bob reacted, that it was like, gosh, these guys would probably be a heck of a lot of fun to go hang out and watch, toss back a few at the Legion Club, And then, the reverence and the respect that Tom and Barry had for each other. And, Tom's been at games in Norman, and he gets a standing ovation. Barry Switzer shows up on the Husker Vision screens, wishing Husker fans or Tom well, and people go crazy for Barry. If they see them on the field tomorrow, when Husker Vision will shoot the two of them side by side, there will be a 90,000 en masse standing ovation for both of them, because they're just beloved figures in college football and in the rivalry. But I do think that the taco moment on the Devaney show personalized Barry Switzer to Nebraska fans and endeared him to them and changed maybe the complexion of the rivalry, even though Tom was the coach. But I thought, that's a guy I wouldn't mind going out and throwing one back with in Chickley.
It's funny because you've got Switzer and it's Orange Bowl or El Paso, and we
all know what happened.
Right, and here comes the sack of tacos. Again, the old hook and ladder.
Yeah, I know.
The old hook and ladder.
I know. But don't you think, though, when he comes out there and does that people want, you know what, he probably is a pretty good guy.
We had a couple of callers say that Barry, one year, I think it was the all-red game that year, 85, 80, it was 86.
86, yeah.
But Barry somehow, one of the years, Barry had a broken arm or a leg or something, got whacked on the sideline. So Barry's by himself at one of the bars around here. And I don't know that Nebraska fans were signing his cast, but they were pouring shots at Uzo for him. And he was weightlifting. He was having shots at Uzo.
Yeah, but I do think that there were moments where people were thinking, you know what, this is just a really fun relationship and rivalry that we have with the folks down there. And I think people in Oklahoma would concur and say the same thing.
Let's talk Mickey Joseph, his task tomorrow and the rest of the season. Can that interim tag be lifted? Let's go there. Elijah and I have spent some time talking about it, lots of emails. And really when we talk about Mickey versus the search, Bill, I'm excited for Mickey. I'm excited for his opportunity. And I think he's got a great combination of being a motivator. He's a hell of a great recruiter, one of the best in the country, and that's from Coach Switzer. And now you've got to oversee, so he can motivate and he knows football, but it's a big, big task. And it's not just tomorrow to make that first impression, but you have 8 more games after tomorrow. And with Mickey, let's talk about that dynamic where, okay, he's got a shot, and then there's the names we've all talked about, and by now there's some folks wore out by the name game and the carousel. I get it, but thought from you on just, okay, could Mickey be the guy? I think he could be, but Trev also is gonna go do the national thing, and you got to check under every rock, so to speak, for this next hire.
Well, I think Trev's probably going to make his decision based on what he hears on Twitter over the next 4 months, and it'll be kind of a Twitter poll. I just think that's probably the easiest.
Who do you want, Nebraska fans?
I just think that's the easiest thing for him to do. I agree that it is a fun thing to think about that, Mickey, and I've chronicled this for a long time, how much he has done, how many steps he has taken to get where he is, and he has, as a football coach, deserves the opportunity that he has right now, right? He's done he's checked off every box: high school assistant, high school head coach, small college coach, small assistant, and so he has done the hard work within his profession to get this opportunity. But at the top of this profession, amongst the elite of the elite programs, there's also more that goes into it in terms of being the CEO of an organization. This would be like you hire somebody fresh out of college and you give them an opportunity and they make the big sale, and the next thing you know, well, Warren Buffett's probably going to put him in charge of Berkshire Hathaway. No, that's not going to happen, right? So there's more to the job that Mickey needs to show that he can handle besides organizing and playing well, being competitive, and winning games on Saturday. And hopefully the majority, if not all of them. And if he does win them all, great. It's going to be hard to say he's not the guy. But I think we have experienced over the last few years that maybe that there's a little bit more that goes on with the job that is part of the job description, that sometimes guys who are just straight to the heart football coaches, and we can think of former assistants at Nebraska that we love, Charlie McBride, Milt Teneper, Kevin Steele, got an opportunity to be a head coach with Baylor. It did not go well for him. But sometimes guys are just great assistant coaches, coordinators, and head coaches at a certain level. To be the button-down three-piece suit, got to stop at Gary Michaels and get my nice suit, my Hickey Freeman every week, which I would love to do as well.
Well, and you got to get the Brioni tie or the Gary Michaels tie.
Right, exactly. What I'm saying, there's a lot more for Mickey to show that he can do in the position of being the head coach at a school like Nebraska that is different than being the head coach at Langston or even at some other schools in Division I football. This is a major business operation. I'm sure he can handle it. He's a mature guy. He's a charismatic guy. But sometimes it's like, hey, you need to go do this. It's like, I just want to coach my team.
Right. I just want to.
And I think we've kind of seen maybe over the last 5 years that this is a really big job for somebody to take on if they're not ready for it.
Parts of the gig you don't like that you got to do.
Right. And a lot of schools have gotten caught up in, man, our guy did great for however long he was the interim, so we're going to take that tag off, and you're the guy. I think West Virginia went through that a few years ago.
Coach Stewart.
And it just did not work. It was great. It was an endearing story, but when it came time to being the head coach and CEO, it was a lot tougher than being just the head coach getting ready for a Saturday or a bowl game.
Elijah, jump in here, brother.
Yeah, Bill, 60 seconds left here this segment before we got to get you out. And I think Boz is up next, Schmidty, but
yeah,
we'll see there. Just quickly, Bill, what do you want to see tomorrow from Mickey Joseph that'll leave you feeling impressed?
I'm really not. I think I've seen it already. He's handled himself really well when he talked to the media the other day. That didn't surprise me. In the little clips of practice that the Husker Vision folks show when they put their those packages together. Taking away the black shirts, I thought sent a great message. No music at practice. Well, that's no fun. But nevertheless, he's doing some things where he knew that he could put his fingerprints on the program in the immediate time to change the tone. And the players didn't talk to the media. Nobody was the voice of the Huskers this week, but Mickey Joseph. So those little things that he could do, I think that he's done that well. And tomorrow, I think you're going to see Husker fans come out and back him 95,000%.
They are going to be full throat tomorrow, 11 o'clock kick. The rivalry renewed. It's Nebraska. It's Oklahoma. It's a road show Friday with Hail Varsity.
Did Elijah just kick me off the show?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
he said we got to get you out here. I'm like, oh, okay. All right.
No, we need you for the forecast still.
Yeah, you're good. we stay, please. We're presented by Currency. Hail Varsity continues.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
God, I get asked this question all the time. Who's the boss?
The boss is highly controversial, highly sensational.
I never met an athlete who could market himself better.
I'm an extremist. People either hate me or love me.
He built himself up to be bigger than life, action hero.
A lot of people do that now. He just did it better.
Everywhere you go, all you hear is Brian Bosworth.
He's one of the best college linebackers I've ever seen play the game.
You know who it is, the boss.
But arguably he's one of the biggest jerks that's ever played the game.
I told him not to do anything to take away from our player performance on the football field. If you tell me that I can't do something, by God, I'm going to want to do it.
he started becoming somebody that I didn't recognize. The lines were becoming blurred, I think, even to Brian.
You wanted to have the Brian without the Boz.
If I could be the boss, I cut my hair, I start doing steroids, I do it all.
Dude, I'm gonna come off as a psychological mess in this deal, you know that, Nice?
Brian Bosworth with us on Hail Varsity Radio. Brian, welcome back to Nebraska. How are you?
I'm well. Am I talking to Chris or Gus?
You're talking to both of us.
How you guys doing?
We're doing awesome. We're doing great, Brian. Thanks for taking a few minutes with us, and I can't wait to see your documentary. I know it was a couple of years in the works, and it'll air for everyone to see tomorrow night. Brian, I got to ask you, when did that persona, Brian, turn to the Boz? When was he born?
Well, if we're talking about Boz, just Boz itself, Boz was, he was the guy that was allowed to go out and play on the football field. So in high school and junior high, because I had such a rambunctious and rowdy and out of control behavioral pattern, and when I was young in elementary school and junior high, and I kind of got it under control in high school because I was forced to. Otherwise, they would take football away from me. Boz would go out there, and he would go crazy. So that was my outlet. That was where I could go and get this energy that I had that was inside me. I call my God gift. The Boz was born, as best I can tell, going back in hindsight, probably the week that we played OU in Texas, that first time in 1984, prior to the game, when I had some personal issues come up into my life, and I let that bleed over into Boz. And as I walked into the locker room to answer a few very simple questions as a young kid from Texas playing football at Oklahoma, would answer very vanilla. I sprinkled a lot of little toppings on it, and that's when the Boz was born, because I had such a hatred for all the things that were going on in my life at the time, especially with the University of Texas, especially not being from Texas. I was an Oklahoma boy, so that was my rival, and I just let it out. And I think that's what started the Boz's fuse.
You had a lot of, conversations, if you will, to generalize it, with the crowds that you played in front of, whether it be home or away. How did that help you feed off that energy to throw that extra little push into your game and to help your team as you guys just dominated some folks back in the years?
Well, I mean, I always dissected the game in a psychological sort of way. On defense, your mindset is to attack. Your mindset is to get into the head of the offensive player. Your mindset is to get into the head of the guy who's got the rock. Starts with the quarterback, next it's usually the running back. So my job is to be the villain. My job is to make them understand that this cat on this side of the football is absolutely 100% insane, and I don't want to get anywhere near him, but my job is to run past him somehow, some way. So there's going to be an intersection of impact, and I didn't like to just impact people. I like to implode them as much as possible. That, again, was my way of, exuding the energy that was inside me. And then, once you get on the stage and you're in front of 75,000, 80,000 people, especially when you're away from home, the boos come in. And the hatred and the name calling, and that just feeds us. But people think that gets under our skin as defensive players. That's like throwing kerosene on an already out of control fire for a defensive player. So we feed on that, and I especially fed on that when we were playing away. And when you're playing against a rival like Nebraska, where it's an all or nothing campaign, it just raises the stakes.
Brian Bosworth with us, a few more minutes. Hail Varsity Radio. His documentary tomorrow night. Can find Brian on Twitter at GotBoz44. And Brian versus the Boz. I can't wait to see this. I know many football fans, Nebraska fans, anxious to see it. Brian, is this documentary hard for you to watch?
was extremely hard for me to watch. I actually didn't want to watch it, and they implored me to watch it before we did the premiere last week in New York. They suggested that I watch it just so that I would be prepared. I knew what we had shot, but I didn't know how it was going to affect me. Many, many years went into understanding how to deal with the pain. And the pain doesn't just start in college. The pain for me started many, many years ago, from the time I was a little kid, in my relationship with my father, my broken relationship with my father. And it really bothered me that I could never come to a place with my father before he passed that we could be in the same room, but we could extend emotion to each other. And the thing that really bothered me is when he passed away, as I saw his last breath, I felt empty inside, and I also saw that I was doing the exact same things that he had planted in me. And I had a son, and I had 2 daughters, and I didn't want that to continue. So I had to confront that silence, and I had to confront those issues that nobody wanted to talk about and bring them out, and let's discuss the whys and how we're going to get through it. And me being who I was, my fear was my son was having to stand in the shadow of this persona. Not much different than me having to stand in the shadow of the expectations of my father, which I never could meet. And I didn't want that to be a difficult issue for my son as he grew up. So it was very hard for me to watch undress the Boz in front of my son so that he could see that there is no Boz. There's just Brian. Brian is your father.
Brian, what kind of influence has Coach Switzer had on your life?
Immeasurable. If it wasn't for Coach Switzer, there would be no Boz. There would be no the Boz. And I know Coach Switzer wouldn't really he'd like to go back and make sure there wouldn't be no Boz. He would put the Boz in a cage and let Boz come out and play football, and then he'd put him back in the cage after the game was over with. But his impact on me, just the level of the confidence that he gave me. He allowed me to be me. He allowed me to explore the things that my father wouldn't let me do. He extended grace, and he extended love. He's the first man who told me, Brian, I love you. And that's a rare thing that we need to reinvent as fathers to their sons. The emotion, the emotional touch of telling our children that we love them and that they are good enough, no matter what they're doing, and encourage them. But without Coach Switzer, I know that I wouldn't be standing where I am today. I'm actually standing in Big Ten country right now. I'm in Michigan. But I'm very happy as a man where I'm at in my place in life.
Brian Bosworth with us, Hail Varsity Radio. His documentary tomorrow night, Brian and the Boz. And Brian, we got about 2.5 minutes here. Real quick on recruiting. Tell me about that time Coach Switzer found his way to your high school cafeteria.
That was a comical day. When I was recruited, I had a high school head coach who did not believe in me. Basically told me my high school career was going to end, and if I got a scholarship to a Division II, I would be fortunate. I had a father who, was extremely difficult on me. So everywhere I went, I felt like I had to go there and please him. I went to SMU and committed, LSU committed, went to Baylor committed, went to A&M, and felt home at A&M under a very great coach, Coach Pettibone. And he had humility, and he was a Christian coach, and I felt at home where there's a connection there. And I was afraid to go to Oklahoma my final visit because I didn't want to set myself up for failure, because I'd always dreamed of playing for Oklahoma, but I never felt that I could fit there. I didn't want to be a guy that stood on the sidelines. I wanted to be a guy that impacted the game. But Oklahoma was in the Big 8, and I always put the Big 8 on a pedestal here. Above all, in the Southwest Conference, was down here, at the bottom somewhere. And Coach Switzer found out that I had canceled the trip, and he decided to change my mind by coming into the cafeteria in the mink coat and call me out and But it wasn't just the charisma that he came into the cafeteria. It was the words that he said to me and the way he said them and the passion that he had that made me believe that this man wanted me. I wasn't just another number, but I was going to be part of his family. And that was the most important thing to me, to be part of his family. And that's the way Oklahoma football is, and I'm sure it's like that back in Tom Osborne's day, where people went there because it was part of a family and a tradition and a legacy that those young men want to be part of and make that tradition even stronger for being there.
Brian, 30 seconds, Nebraska-Oklahoma. How do you describe that?
God, I miss that rivalry. I wish we still had that rivalry. It was such a great rivalry. The two big Reds coming at each other. I mean, back when we played, it was slobber knocking, as my buddy JR would say. It was just line up and just beat the hell out of each other for 60 minutes, and good, solid coaching on both sides. And it usually came down to, a broken tackle, a mistake, a fumble, a turnover. Something would happen, but those corn huskers and us rednecks, we'd bow our necks back, and we weren't afraid of each other. We'd get in the ring and we'd slug it out, and it's like, we'll come away with bloody nose, help each other up, and we'll see you the next play. I like that one. You watch what's coming next. I miss that. That's good old-fashioned, hard-nosed, get down on the knees, and let's play some football, and I miss doing that.
Brian Bosworth. Boz, best to you. Brian, thanks for your time, sir. Best of luck to you.
You too.
Take care. Brian Bosworth, Hail Varsity continues. Good stuff from the Boz. We're here at the Single Barrel Forecast on the way with Hail Varsity.
He's in his 30s, but sounds like he was born with a stogie in one hand and a brew in the other.
Now, say my name.
It's Schmidty on Hail Varsity Radio.
I got the body of a taut, preteen Swedish boy.
Thanks for spending time. Good rewind with the Boz. Brian Bosworth, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Bill Doleman, Brian Fairbury, NBC Sports. The professor is here. And we're at the Single Barrel, man. Folks are having a good time. It is awesome. Food will be up shortly for so many, but there's lots of beers being crushed, lots of whiskey to choose from, over 200 here at the Single Barrel. And we're here to be happy to be here every home football Friday. Bill?
Well, I do need to say this while you're talking about the Single Barrel. I do believe that Big Jim, Bobby, Bell, Beach, Big Ben, JUCO, the black hole of basketball in Dallas. I believe they will also be making their way down to the Single Barrel to catch the show and imbibe in the offerings here.
It is good.
Anyway, yeah.
It is awesome. Scotty, Army crawled out of his home. We kept him out way the hell too late. David is here. Coach, good to see him, and our old buddy Ryan, and a lot of folks here. And then the bar is surrounded. So, do we have the clause? We do. Oh no, he is.
Did you want to get my take on Urban?
We will.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We will do that in 2 seconds. We are going to get the forecast locked and loaded as we welcome in. He's imaginary. He wears red. It is Clausebrone here on Hail Varsity. Claus, how we doing? It's Oklahoma, Nebraska week.
Well, hello, country bumpkins. The frost is off the sideline. How are we doing today, fellas?
Lots of red, man. Some of the more maroon type, and a lot of Husker fans gearing up. How are you feeling, Claus? I mean, this is a game you usually make.
Well, obviously, I was a little conflicted about the whole situation this week, and about 6 days ago, I thought I'd probably have to find a whole new hobby for the fall, and took up basket weaving, so that's taken up most of my time this week, but I'll certainly be there in spirit.
All right, let's dive in. Let's start off with the forecast, and we will go to BYU at Oregon. Oregon minus 3.5. BYU's playing good football. I think they keep the momentum after what they did to outlast Baylor. And give me BYU 31. Give me Oregon 27, the win and cover for BYU. Elijah.
And it feels wrong, but Oregon has not showed me much this season. I think I'm with you, Schmidty. I'm going to take BYU to cover the points against Oregon. 38-31, BYU gets the victory tomorrow.
Bill Doleman.
I like what Mike Malotti's done with Oregon, and I think Dan Fouts is going to have a pretty good game. I like his pro prospects.
Don't forget about Bobby Moore.
And I don't like BYU, so I'm going to take Oregon with the half point over BYU. 0.5-0.
Claus, BYU, Oregon. What do you say?
Is this game in Oregon?
It is.
Goodness, you hate to have the folks from BYU showing up at your home on a Saturday. Well, Nat saw my text messages last week, and she probably thought I was complaining about an Oregon loss, but I told her, no, that's just what happened with my autocorrect. I'll say this. Oregon has been pretty unimpressive, but I think they probably used the momentum of being at home to eke one out. Oregon 31, BYU 28.
Michigan State, Washington, Huskies -3. Mel Tucker, until he lays an egg, I'm going to go with Michigan outright. Or I should say Michigan State outright. Forgive me there, but give me Sparty 27-21 on the road at Washington. Bill.
I like what Don James has done with the Washington program, but I think Michigan State's way too tough. I think Washington's been in a disarray for a year and a half now, so Michigan State wins that and covers.
Elijah.
Yeah, a tight game, but I'm also going with the road underdog here in Michigan State. I think Mel Tucker is a great head coach for the Spartans, and I'm going to take Sparty in a tight one, 28-27, as they get something close to a walk-off touchdown.
Claus, Michigan State or Washington?
Well, first of all, I'm a little disappointed in you, Christopher, and you, William. Elijah, really young, I can understand. But by the time this team ends up joining our conference, I hope you boys understand that it's pronounced Washington. Now they may have to earn the right to be properly pronounced by winning, and that won't happen this week. Michigan State 35 and Washington 24.
Miami at A&M. Old Jimbo. That's a little warm underneath the britches. The U comes in. Mario could make a statement. I think A&M wins. I think they got to win. I think Psychoville is going to be off the hook, and I think A&M handles it 35-28, just barely a cover for the Aggies. Bill.
Jimbo Fisher picked an awful time to talk about wanting to go to West Virginia and be the head coach, and then to lay an egg the following week. I would think that his players are a little bit disillusioned, but after the embarrassment against App State, they will win this, and I think win it handily over Miami at home.
Roger, what do you say, bud?
If you didn't watch this game last week, Appalachian State and A&M, you'll know that Appalachian State really outplayed A&M the entire game. That scoreline was closer than it should have been for A&M, and I'm with Bill. I think Texas A&M might start getting disillusioned with Jimbo Fisher's offense. It's a little bit outdated looking. I got Miami winning this one straight up down in Aggieville. Give me Miami at 31 and A&M 28.
Claus, what do you like here, the Canes or the Aggies?
Well, as I understand, Texas A&M is switching out their quarterbacks, which is good. I mean, their quarterback's helmet was throwing me off the last several weeks. It looked like he was about to use the Schwartz and send the program into ludicrous speed. But I don't know that that's going to make much of a difference in this game. I'll take Miami 35 and A&M 27.
Guys, we're kicking off with you. Penn State -3 at Auburn.
Well, I'm not really sure I want to see either of these programs win. Of course, you got one program who had a lot of problems and a fan base that really defends the people who caused those problems. Meanwhile, you've got Auburn fans who say, well, that's why we keep the smaller livestock close to the house. So, I guess I'll take Auburn in this one, 24, and Penn State 21.
No, I think Auburn wins. Elijah?
Give me Penn State. Give me Penn State 24-21. Bill. I'll say about that.
I think Auburn is going to do everything it can to get rid of Brian Harsin. So I think they'll lay down and let Penn State walk all over them.
Oh, wow. We will take a quick timeout. We will wrap with Nebraska-Oklahoma. Claus, you got a couple minutes on the other side?
Oh, I suppose.
Okay, we didn't get an okay. Hail Varsity continues. We're live at the Single Barrel as we get ready for Nebraska-Oklahoma. We're presented by Currency.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at hailvarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time here at the Single Barrel Roadshow Friday. We're presented by Currency. For all your equipment financing needs, go Currency. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Bill Doleman. The forecast continues. There's reports, Claus and Bill and Elijah, that from a janitor at Memorial Stadium, that Urban is in Trev's office right now.
Of course he is. And Trev even said he would talk to people who may be rumored candidates. Of course he's here. He's here with Fox. He's getting a chance to see the stadium and the whole thing. And
he's coming back to the Single Barrel.
And Trev might say, what do you think about the job and what this job means and where it needs to go? Trev said that flat out last week, that I'm going to talk to a lot of people. Of course he's meeting with Urban Meyer right now.
Do you like Urban?
Look, great coaches sometimes are not great fits with great athletic directors. Right, and I think Nebraska has a great athletic director. I think Urban Meyer is a great coach. He just may not be a great fit with the AD, with the state, with the culture, all those kinds of things, even though he would be a great football coach. But I totally expect Trev to talk to Urban Meyer about the Nebraska job, the Nebraska program, and maybe he does end up being here because I heard it on the radio and read it on the internet. But I just don't think that is the great fit with Trev Alberts, who will be the boss of the Nebraska football program and athletic department. He's not going to get run over by somebody who thinks he can run over the AD, and that's just not going to happen.
Exactly. Nebraska, Oklahoma, Huskers hang tough, but too much OU 20, make that 42-28. Sooners win and cover. Elijah.
I'm following my heart here, Schmidty, and also I want to go different from you. So I'm going to have the Huskers hanging tight late in this one. They lose it in a one-possession game, but the Husker fans go home happy. It is a 41-38 victory for Oklahoma, but the Huskers do cover.
Bill Doleman.
Every Nebraska-Oklahoma game, I looked this up, every single game has been 17-14. Every single Nebraska-Oklahoma game has been 17-14. This one will be 17-14.
Who?
What?
Nebraska or Oklahoma?
Oh, Nebraska, of course. Finally gets a win in one of those. Yeah.
Claus, take us to the weekend, partner. Appreciate you so much for coming on. What happens here? Minus 10.5, 11, depending on where you're laying heat.
Who's the leader of the team that ticked us off last week? M-I-C-K-E-Y. He's the new HC. Hey there, hi there, ho there, change was welcome as can be. M-I-C-K-E-Y, he's the new HC. M-I-C, see you before noon. K-E-Y, why? Because we're winning. Beat OU this week. Nebraska 28 and Oklahoma 27.
Bang. There goes Claus, 28-27.
We're all true blue.
Remember that? Yeah, he did the old Burger King commercial. Yeah.
Shock the world then.
Yeah.
Shock the world tomorrow.
He can carry a tune. Claus, have yourself a weekend.
Okay.
There he goes. The infamous Clausebrone. The Bar tomorrow, 16th and P, 7:30 to 9:30. Come see us kick it at the Single Barrel. Great steaks. We appreciate you. Elijah, have a good night. Billy D, thanks, and thanks for coming out with Hail Varsity.